I know for me, growing up in an urban community, you never talked about the effects of mental health or what you've seen every single day on a daily basis, affecting your mental health. You know, it was never a discussion during All-Star weekend, just being overwhelmed with everything that was going on. I put out a tweet expressing my depression. You know, it was just an emotional response. Really didn't expect too much of it. With me just sending out a tweet like that, opened up a whole nother door I never would have expected. Relief, freedom, inspiration to others that it's okay to go through things, to be vulnerable, to break down, be okay with figuring yourself out, speaking to other people, being vulnerable to other people. Life is always gonna test you. It's just about figuring out ways to get yourself out of that dark place when it feel like it comes, and that starts with having conversations. Some of the greatest conversations that I've ever had and witnessed was at a dinner table. It's fitting to be able to be in this position to have open heart dialogue about some real things that we deal with on a daily basis. So it's so much that could come from a dinner table conversation. I hope this project will, you know, spread hope, inspiration, and understanding that a dialogue of expressing and speaking out and telling your story is so inspirational. Tonight's dinner guest is my good friend, Draymond Green, a great friend of mine, someone I respect. You know, we were the same high school class. We played against each other in college. You know, it's something we always talk about to this day. He knocked us out of NCAA tournament. So us competing versus each other go way back.
What's going on, my brother?
My dog, what's up?
I see you, champ. Appreciate you having me.
Wanted to talk to Draymond. To me, I feel like he's one of the most misunderstood people in our league. Everybody quick to view him as an aggressor because of a lot of things he do on the court. But I think for me, he's one of those intelligent guys. Once you get his perspective on things, you know, your view will definitely change. I would say all our conversations that we had has been like the most beneficial for me, just from like a friend standpoint. You see what I'm saying? Because it's so hard in our occupation to be able to find like just thorough individuals that stand for something, that have morals and accept going through the ups and downs and realize that, you know, we ain't perfect. You know what I mean? We not perfect at all. And that's one thing I know for me, I always admired from you. It's like, you know you're not perfect and you unapologetic about it at the same time. That's a hell of a trait to have. You such an alpha, but to me it's like, you know, I don't care if we in a game, wherever we at, we always talk shit.
For sure.
Always talk shit.
Ain't changing.
Ain't changed one bit. No matter what it's about. But to other people, it rubs so many people the wrong way. But to me, you take that quality away from you, you're not Draymond Green. You know what I mean? I don't even think you will exist in our league. You know what I mean?
No, that's a fact. I think, number one, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. Like I've said to you before, and building a relationship with you, which has spanned over the course of years. Like this isn't something that started yesterday or, you know, a year ago. Like this has been building for 10 plus years. And so in building a relationship with you, I am so excited to, number one, be the first guest on your show because I feel like I've watched the growth firsthand. Unlike myself, who's super outspoken and always gonna say something if I gotta say it, you're way more reserved. And most people don't even know you talk. And so to watch you continue to flourish in basketball and almost reinvent yourself in basketball, but like you're reinventing DeMar, the person. And for me as a friend, that's special. Because like you just said, for us, there's no one to tell you you're wrong. You know, there's no one to tell you, yo, you bullshitting. Everyone's afraid to bite the hand that feeds them. And the reality is, you're looking for somebody to tell you you're wrong. Like, for years, I've looked for somebody to tell me I was wrong. And so you look at life. For you as a human being, for me as a human being, you stop getting better. Like every day you're trying to become a better person. That should be the goal in life. Every day is to become a better person, to improve yourself. But then you run into this situation of young guys from Compton, the hood, like we all know about Compton, from Saginaw, Michigan. Most people don't know about Saginaw, Michigan. Same shit. You stop getting better because when you come from these situations and then you walk into this money, and when I say walk in, it's not a walk. It's not a walk in the park. It's hard. But you walk into this money and this fame, and in doing that, you lose the people that have been in your corner telling you, hey, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're doing this right. You lose that. And so in turn, we stop improving as human beings. Earlier this year, I had to tell myself, like, yo, it's time for you to dive back into yourself, to improve yourself. You have not improved as a person at all. Like, all right, you got better at basketball, you got better at doing a podcast and speak, but you have not improved yourself as a person at all. And in large part due to, it's all self-evaluation, because you run into these situations where there is no one to tell you you're wrong. And so what I've appreciated about our relationship is like, I can call you and be like, yo, you bullshitting. Like, I just watched 3 games in a row. Like, you look ridiculous. And like, you'll call me like, yo, like, what was that? Or, you know, you don't even look to shoot the ball, or, you know, you was bitching the entire game. And for me, like, those are the most valuable relationships, because A, you have someone that'll hold you accountable. Right. And accountability is everything in life. And B, it's someone who doesn't need a thing from you and simply is in it for the good, for the better of you. I appreciate that, because it's so hard to find these days of someone with the heart, with the nuts to tell you, like, bro, you was dead ass wrong. Like, that was ridiculous. And so I am very appreciative of our relationship.
Once you get in this fame and this light, you know, you lose that element of being human. You know what I mean? You look around, you see so many people having such an entitlement, you know, because I get up every single day and work my ass off. Yes. Y'all feel like y'all should have the same thing I have. Absolutely. You know what I mean? You should drive. I should have the same car you have. I should go eat where you eat. You know what I mean? All this, and I don't think many people understand to the magnitude of how much we have to deal with the entitlement of family, friends behind us. Because, you know, you want to be a good friend, you want to be a good whatever, brother, son, whatever it may be. But that entitlement weighs so heavy on us at times to where it drive a motherfucker crazy.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's been one of the toughest things for me to like maneuver through, because, you know, you try to do all the right shit, but it's never enough for nobody else.
My sister texted me a couple weeks ago, and she was like, hey, it's just so hard for me to get in touch with you. I just want to check on you, see how you're doing. And I said, honestly, Toya, this phone causes me so much anxiety. I just don't touch it. Like, I don't do it. And so I don't have it within me to deal with other people's shit.
It's so crazy, because the same motherfuckers who ask for something don't even ask how your kids doing first and foremost. You see what I'm saying? Facts. You know what I mean? Like, how many times, like, I done called, man, and shit, the baby be right there, I be talking. You know what I mean? It's like, the kid's good. That's how we lead it off. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So for a person who I haven't even talked to, but you expect me to give you X amount of money and tell me your problems and put it on me, like, how do that ever make sense? That's why to this day I continue to work my ass off so much, because I'm so fearful to go back to not having anything. On top of seeing how hard my dad worked and bust his ass just for us to have the minimum. On seeing my mother struggle. You know, as you get older, you start to realize and understand the amount of pressure that your parents go through just to try to keep you fed. So for me, I never got caught up in the bullshit to feel entitled, like, oh, I was somebody. Because at the end of the day, shit, I'm hoping the fucking water on for me to be able to take a shower tonight. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like this shit is crazy. And I never even talked about this, bro. Like to this day, right? Only if you come from the hood, you will understand this metaphor, right? It may sound crazy as shit, but I wear 2 pair of drawers to this day, right? Because when I was young, I needed a clean pair of drawers just in case I was somewhere at my cousin's house and was able to take a shower. You see what I'm saying? That's no matter how much, if I just scored 30 points or whatever, I got 2 pair of underwears on because I'm gonna take the ones that's on top and those gonna be my clean ones if I'm able to take a shower over here.
Wow.
That's the shit that kept me humble and kept me pushing, no matter if it seemed like I had some fame or if I felt like I had some new shoes or whatever, it was never enough for me because I still was going back to this shithole of a place that I had to keep fucking fighting to get out of. You know what I mean? So to me, I didn't know what entitlement was. That's why I take it so personal when I see other people carry that entitlement to where, like, what is you doing? You know what I mean? Like, how is you gonna fend for yourself and fend for the people you take care of?
After my rookie year, my business manager at the time, she called me about my taxes and she's like, hey, on your taxes, you've done X, Y, and Z for your mom. You've given her this much money. You should claim her as a dependent. And I'm like, all right, like, and in my mind, I don't know much about taxes. So I'm thinking at that time with the taxes that, oh yeah, I claim her as a dependent. I'm gonna get more of a check back. Growing up, income taxes for us was like, my mom about to get a check. We about to do it for a couple of weeks, and then we're gonna be back broke. And so when she said like, oh, you get to, I'm like, oh shoot, I get to claim her as a dependent. I'm gonna get even more money back. So I hit my mom to get the pay stub, and she like, all right. Week go by, I hit her back like, Mom, I still need the pay stub, And she like, all right, I'll give it to you. So finally I get it. And my mom was making $16,000 a year. $16,000 a year. And then what I struggle the most with now is like, that. And so you almost feel obligated to help with anything because you now know that reality. But with that comes the burden of knowing that and carrying someone's issue, because now when they hit you with the issue, you're like, I still remember X, Y, Z, and this, that, and like, I know they don't make that much. I can do this here, but it's just a trickle-down effect. And like, that shit's hard to deal with.
So that shit is overwhelming, bro.
100%.
It's a crazy, every single day. And I remember I seen it, it's one of my favorite quotes. Jim Carrey said, matter of fact, it was Robin Williams. He said, I wish everybody was rich so they realize money isn't everything, right? Because everybody, think about it, you looking on the internet, man, if I made what he made, I wouldn't even. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. You have no clue what this side of the fence, what comes with this. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not for everybody. You know what I mean? I seen a stat about the amount of people who won the lottery over like the last 30 years. Like over 70% of them went broke. You know what I mean?
Sick.
Because you didn't have to work for this.
Yeah.
It just came. So now you have no value of the money because it came to you out of luck.
You put out a tweet based on mental health around All-Star Weekend. And number one, I applaud you for that because that was huge. And I think what it did was it opened the door for people like myself and other guys in the league, but not only in the league, just around the world, for people to say, wow, like, I struggle with that too. And it was such a courageous thing for you to do. You're often looked at as like soft if you're vulnerable. He weak, is this, is that. When you say you struggle with something. And when you did that, I was like, A lot of people are gonna have something to say about that one, you know. And did you get blowback from that? Because it's never all good. Like, although people may see like, oh man, he got support. Like, no, there was some blowback from it. It had to be.
Yeah, it was. What was crazy, bro? I remember it was All-Star Weekend, LA. We was on the road. I was tired. I hadn't seen the girls in a while, and I was just more excited just to get home to fucking see my daughters. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I need that refreshing, like, love that don't give a damn about none of this stuff. You know what I mean? So I get back, get to LA. I remember just the overwhelming feeling of like, all right, I'm in LA. Damn, I'm on the side of the Ritz. Everybody asked me for tickets to the All-Star game. Like everything started to come, and like the first day, I was just going crazy. And I think it was Friday night. I didn't go out. I was supposed to go out. I remember getting dressed. I laid in the bed. It was like 8 o'clock. And I just didn't move, bro. Like I didn't have no interest to do nothing, be around nobody. I had everybody downstairs at the house dressed, ready to go out, sprinter outside, like the whole nine, bro. Like it was just like, and I just didn't have nothing in me, bro. I felt so exhausted mentally, emotionally, and I just laid there. I didn't tell nobody I wasn't going out. I wasn't this. Locked the door, and I laid in the room by myself. And in the middle of the night, I tweeted what I tweeted. And I didn't think nothing of it. It was just me being so lost in my emotions at that time, in that moment. I didn't think nothing else. I didn't care about nobody else's feelings or reaction. All I cared about was mine and how I could get this off, because obviously I wasn't sitting here talking to nobody. So shit, fuck it, I'm gonna just tweet this. I'm gonna tweet how I feel right now, in this moment. And I put my phone down, went to sleep. You know, you have a bad night. Usually you wake up and you refresh, whatever was the day before, you forget it, move on next day. So I get up the next day and I was fine. All right, got some rest, I'm ready for the day. Pick up my phone, oh my God, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Like, and it was one of those early mornings where we had to go sign the balls. We had to do the signing, we had the practices and everything. And I remember getting there and it was like, the day we had media and all that shit, right? So everybody coming to me like, yo, what this mean? What is this? You know, you're gonna have to say this, you're going this and this. And I remember when I was signing the balls, I remember it was a couple, I forgot who it was. It was a couple guys came up to me and say, you good? Like, everything straight? You know what I mean? I was just like, yeah, I'm good. What's up? Because I'm not thinking of the tweet, you know what I mean? But you see all the guys catch on to it, and I felt more so the worry and concern of them wanting to know if I was good. So it turned into me just saying like, man, you know what, fuck it. This is how I feel. You know what I mean? Like I didn't feel weak, I didn't feel no type of way, because in that moment, it took me back to like the amount of shit I've made it through and went through. I could never be less of a human. I could never be less of a man. You know what I mean? And it just opened me up from a different level to want to speak about it and make myself vulnerable. And I'll be lying to you saying like I knew it was going to have the impact that it had. It was just me just wanting, like I was screaming out for help for so long, but in all the wrong ways instead of talking to somebody. And I think me doing that just opened me up to want to express it. And to see the response from it, it was even more overwhelming in a positive way, because it's like, damn, I had this effect on somebody. Like, bro, this is how I've been feeling. Like, you know what I mean? So you tell me I've been feeling like this. If I would have said something, it would have helped. You know what I mean? Then you start to carry some type of guilt, because it's like, yo, if I could have helped to this magnitude, I would have been did it. But you know, I just wasn't ready for it until that moment. So I'll be lying to you, tell you, I knew what I was doing. I just had hit my wall that moment. That same year, after that season, I was traded. Knocked me to my fucking knees of a place that I thought I would be forever. The feeling that I felt was I can't even explain it to this day. You know what I mean? And it put me in an element of 3 years of trying to search and find myself from basketball perspective, feeling like, you know, the doubt creep in, questioning yourself, how much longer this gonna be, getting caught up in the bullshit narratives that sports people, experts wanted to put out. You know, you kind of fall victim to the bullshit. You know what I mean? And during that whole time, you know, my dad was sick the whole time. It was countless times I was flying from San Antonio to LA just to see him. Minnesota to LA, wherever I had 2 days in between, if I was on the road, I was flying home just to be able to have moments with him. You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. I was carrying that on my shoulders of the only man that I ever feared and gave me everything that I known up to that point. You know what I mean? And it's crazy just how deep even our relationship go. I remember San Antonio, I picked you up from the hotel. We driving back to my house. You asked me how Pops was doing. And when I told him, I said, I don't think he gonna make it. I don't think he gonna make it. This, I've never talked about this. I don't even think I told anybody in my circle this. We rode in the car, we had a conversation, and I told you, like, I don't think he gonna make it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And a week later, he passed. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So this was the shit that I was consistently carrying through this whole time. And I never made a peep out of it. I never wanted to be a distraction to my teammates, to work, anything. So I always was there for them, just like I was trying to be there for, you know, my dad, see him as much as I can, for moms and all that shit. That shit took a toll. But I still was being the ultimate professional, teammate, friend, and everything. But unconsciously, that shit will weigh on you. You know what I mean? Outside people couldn't see it. You know what I mean? I didn't scream out loud. I didn't say, hey, look at me. Like I took it on the chin, but I lost myself at the same time. And people don't even know this. You know this from the simple fact of our relationship. When I buried my dad, the same night I had a daughter. Mm-hmm. And I go play in a game.
Yep. I remember
the next day. Absolutely. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Nobody had a clue about this. Mm-hmm. So emotionally, the highs and lows that I was going through was beyond what outside people could ever understand. But if you have a bad game, they wanna trash you for something. They wanna say this. They wanna have all these opinions. They wanna have all this, but you don't know this shit that I'm carrying, that I'm going through every single day. Mm-hmm. On top of, even before that, one of the hardest shit I had to see, the call I got, my dad went to the hospital a couple days before he passed. You know, it was during COVID, so nobody could go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. I never even spoke on this. It was crazy for me because I played in the game in Minnesota after I got the call. Win the game, do some amazing shit, win the game, fly home, sitting on the plane for 3 hours by myself, just in my thoughts and my feelings, just like I was fucked up. Mm-hmm. To get home to where the only way I could see my dad is on a computer with tubes all in his mouth, all in his shit, you see what I'm saying? To where we talking to him, he unresponsive. So I see my mama sitting in front of the laptop for 6 hours talking to him. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the shit I was carrying. Like, sit there to the nurses and doctors had to come in and say, you know, we got to charge the computer. But she talked to this man like he was talking back to her the whole time for 6 hours. You know what I mean? The heaviness and the pain that you got to see your mother, the only man she knew for 40-some years, go through that. Shit was hard. Then I go playing a game couple days later just to get the call a couple days after that, he passed. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, this is the reality for me that I deal with and carry, that I always try to get people to understand. Like, it's a reality out here. Yes. People get so caught up in all this fake shit. You gonna be just like everybody else, like these trolls and shit that's on Instagram, all that. Like, it's a reality. If you don't deal and can't handle reality, that shit don't discriminate against nobody. It's gonna come. And you can't pick and choose on what it is. You gotta be able to handle it, and you know, that's the dope thing, to be able to have relationships with people I could call my friends. You see what I'm saying? Because nobody never knew these things. You see what I'm saying? I never would have got through a lot of shit if it wasn't for our relationship, our phone calls. You know what I mean? Little shit like that. So it's dope to be able just to have this conversation at any time, because I always say, this for me, this is always like my therapeutic relief. This is like my therapy. You know what I mean? For me, I always feel like you don't gotta go through a therapist, because if you could sit and have a conversation with somebody close to you, you're gonna leave from here with weights lifted off our shoulders feeling good, because you got so much shit off our emotions that we normally carry. So it's crazy.
I've always said, and I've said this to my teammates, in front of my teammates before. The NBA had, the NBA they'll have a clinical psychologist come in and speak to the team and let you know, hey, if you need to speak, if you need therapy, we're a resource for you, blah, blah, blah. And in those meetings, I've said to my teammates, like, every time the guy comes, I say, yo, can I get your card? Like, I'm gonna reach out to you. And I've said to my teammates, like, there's been times where I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna go to therapy. Like, yep, I'm ready to go. It's the time now, I'm ready to do it. And like every time I talk myself out of it, like, oh, nope, I just figured this out, I don't need to go. Like, and like, for me personally, I don't understand how somebody can push themselves to go to therapy. I have not been doing it. I identified that I probably needed to go to speak to somebody, maybe like at least 4 years ago. We'll just stop it. At least 4 years ago. I still haven't went. I talk myself out of it every time. Like, you know what? Well, I needed to go for this, and this thing, but nope, actually this just happened. Yeah, I'm fine, I don't need to go. I've talked myself out of it a million times. And, I worry for people that may not be as mentally strong as I am, that may not have as tough skin as I have, that they deal with that same fear. Like, yeah, I need therapy, but find a way to talk themselves out of going. And they may not have this relationship, where like you can call somebody and talk and like not get judged and just get it all out. So then where do you turn? Or do you deal with it? Like for you, like, did you even process any of that stuff?
You really don't understand the magnitude of how much you lose yourself until everything come crumbling down. You know what I mean? And like you said, I didn't process all that because it was on to the next. It was always on to the next. It's back to that childhood mentality of like, man, don't worry about it, keep going. You just fell, just wipe off, you better keep going, you better not stop. It was that mentality that's so embedded unconsciously that forced you to just keep going no matter what the fuck's going on. Long as I'm waking up, I gotta go. I gotta go. Not realizing in a moment you running from so many of your problems, you putting yourself in a much more deeper emotional strain until it just all come crashing down. And even with that element of finishing out that season to going to the summer to not knowing what my next step in life was going to be as far as where I was going to play basketball. Like I just dealt with being unhappy and doubting myself for 3 years. So I was ready just to settle and try to decide on just stay home. Let me just stay home and just indulge in all this shit that I'm already in. You know what I mean? And you see how just certain things work, and the opportunity for me to go to Chicago happened. And all those emotions that I had, I pushed that into motivation of feeling like it was another opportunity for me, and I remember you giving me that call and you talked to me, how you talked to me about, expressing it and being the one to, vocalize it. Don't hold it in. And you got in my ass about that shit. You, the only person who got in my ass about that shit, and it's something that people don't realize. This is in the same year of me losing my dad, me having my daughter, me about to have a son to the point to where I remember we was playing y'all in Golden State. You kept calling me. Man. Come to the house, man. What you doing? You going to LA tomorrow? All right. And I kept avoiding your call because I knew, I already knew I wasn't ready to hear your mouth that night. You know what I mean? I'm already got to play you. We already got to play the next day. I didn't want to hear your mouth, blah, 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 and all this shit. And I remember getting on the plane going to LA and you was like, what you finna do? What you finna? And my son was born. The day after we played y'all, and I'm going to LA to see, you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I have a question. Help me get to therapy. As someone who's done it, like, help me get there, because I can't get myself there.
Listen, I was the same way. I was the exact same way. I used to find every excuse not to go. I remember the first 2 times I went, I was in there just bullshitting like, yeah, that happens. No, yeah, sometimes. I'm in there bullshitting and I'm doing it a disservice. You know what I mean? When it's like, because in my mind, I'm looking at you like, yo, you don't come from the same walks of life as me. How you gonna understand if I break down this story about when I was 12 years old, I got jumped by 6 dudes because I had on the wrong color. And I gotta walk back to my grandma's house and explain to my mama what just happened. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, do you know what comes with that? You know what I mean? Like, so I used to find every reason to avoid that, to where I just got to a point to where like, let me treat this like it's a film session and really just indulge in it and see what I can find. You know what I mean? Even if it's one thing I could find, like that's how I really looked at it. Like, let me treat it like a film session. Even though I know what happened in the game, let me see if it's something I could see that could help me that next possession. And that's how I took the approach about it. And I said in my first one that I really took serious, and it opened something up to me and made me realize why I indulged in such a dark place so much, and I was okay with being in such a dark place. And it took me back to my dad being a person who always used to lock me in the closet. So I was crying, screaming, kicking the door, he laughing, to where the day I stopped kicking and screaming to get out the dark closet, he stopped putting me in there. And it became a norm to me to be okay with being in the darkness. And that just translated to so much chaos in my life. Like, I needed chaos because I felt comfortable in chaos because I had it and went through it so much. I needed it. I thrived in that. You see what I'm saying? To where once they put it in that perspective, I was like, what the fuck? It opened up so much other shit to me, to where it's like, all right, as long as I can find out one thing bit by bit over a span of time, it's going to amount to some that I probably never would have figured out if I didn't go to therapy. You know what I mean? And that was the approach I took towards it to help me. Cause I was the same way, bro. Same way.
I feel like it's going to uncover shit that I may not be ready to deal with, but once it's uncovered, you cannot deal with it.
You can't deal with it. But that goes back to what I said, to where sometimes you gotta allow life to break you down, even when you're not ready for it, so you could realize what you need to be better at. You know what I mean? We can't pick and choose when we want the good and the bad to come. You know what I mean? You gotta take it and understand once it break you down, all right, how can I build up to be better? Like, in some shit you gotta uncover so you could be the best you down the line, whether it's just a father, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? And that's the approach I try to look at it like, because I was terrified of certain shit getting opened up because we try to seal. Like, I know for me, I used to try to forget so much. Like, I don't look at like pictures from high school. I don't like looking at pictures from with my homeboys and all that shit, because there's so many people that I lost that I always felt like if I look at that picture, it's gonna take me back to certain moments that I try to forget never happened. You know what I mean? And I was like, I can't be that way, because I'm just cutting out a piece of my life that I'm carrying unconsciously, but I'm acting like it didn't happen. But I gotta understand why I can't look at these pictures, or why, because like I need it, because I'm still running from so much shit. Like, you know what I mean? So I try to get myself to the point of understanding, let me just chip away at one thing at a time with myself emotionally, because like it helps me out in moments. And I think even going into this past season, I found such a calm emotionally what made me do a lot of things I was able to do in games this year, because it was like it just put me at ease. Like nothing else mattered. But this moment right here, nothing else mattered. You know what I mean? And it took a lot for me to get there. And that came from therapy, honestly.
The first therapist you saw is still the same one that you
No.
used?
I went through, I ain't gonna lie, I went through about 3, 4.
So how do I get comfortable with, like, how would I identify that, you know what, like, actually this is not the right fit?
I know for me, the therapist that did it for me, he broke himself down and made me feel comfortable with, all right, cool. He made himself vulnerable in a sense of it just not being about me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He gave me a whole rundown like, yeah, I'm blah, 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 blah. My dad was this, you know, I came from this and this. Like, you gave me a whole rundown that made me realize, okay, like, shit. You got to story your damn self. So, all right, and it became a conversation. Yeah. It didn't become, I'm reading off this sheet. So, Draymond Green, I see you from Michigan. Okay, so tell me about, it wasn't that. It was more so like, God damn, like we two human beings really having this conversation, and you look up, 2 hours go by and you really dug in some shit. You know what I mean? And that's, for me, that's how I knew. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go through the laying on the couch, you know, yeah, I have a dog. You know, the generic bullshit. You know what I mean? It was something that just connected both of us, and it didn't feel like bullshit. It didn't feel like you talking to me because you learned this through school. It was like you talking to me because you want the betterment of me as a human being. Like, and that made it easier for me to have conversations after that. I thought going to therapy I thought all type of shit. I'm like, man, if I go to therapy, but it helped me channel my powers even more, in a sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, no bullshit. Like, and granted, it's one of those things that you got to just continue to go through. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm gonna go 5 times and I'll be good. Like, it's just one of those things. I try to go at least once a week, and sometimes this is once every other week. You know what I mean? But I just try to get there, because I had moments of thinking like, man, I go to therapy, man, I might be a bitch after this, man. Like, but it wasn't that. It was just more so of me honing in on my capabilities, on my emotions, on my, you know what I mean? It was like on call, like, all right, now it's kind of like when the Hawk started to realize how he could turn into Hawk Smash, or he could be Bruce Banner it's kind of like that. That's how I took it. You see what I'm saying? Like, it was more so of controlling that. So if a motherfucker just flick you, I'm not about to go green for no reason. Yeah. You're not about to make me get to that point, but I can if I want to, without you flicking me. Then that's the true power in it. So it's crazy you said that, because I thought that too. I'm like, man, I'm not about to do this shit. This shit about to have me soft. But it just helps channel your emotions completely different than you ever expected. You know what I mean?
I mean, I worry about it in the sense sometimes of like losing my fire, because my fire is a skill. I think my fire that I have and that I play with is like an elite skill.
No question.
In the
no
NBA.
Question.
And
it's a lost art.
For me, when I look at things like therapy, I'm like, nah, because that's going to make me channel that, or, you know, pull back there even more. Now, what I will say is, like I said, and I spoke about the sessions thing, when I went through that process, I'm like, all right, I felt like I figured some things out, and like it was therapeutic for me, and I felt like I grew from it. And that was big for me, but yeah, I still have I felt like that was different. Like, I went on a journey and, like, you know, was in nature and all of these things. Like, it was super relaxing, and it was just a different, as opposed to like walking into an office and, like you said, sitting there and looking up. Like, by the way, I told you I've never been to therapy. I thought that was like a thing off the movie, like where when they're shooting a movie and they show somebody with a therapist, they're sitting there looking up. I just thought that was a thing for the movie. I didn't think that was like really a real thing, but I do struggle. Like, with the whole thought of losing my fire and like that drive and that thing that pushes me and the nastiness, like that's been a key driver in my career. And I worry about losing that. And so I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to go do that yet. I'm fine.
That won't be the case. You cannot, bro, you was born with that shit. You ain't gonna lose it. Yeah, I'm telling you, you ain't, dog. I could assure you you're not. I could assure you not. You just give it a shot, like, you know, you just, you unlock certain shit in a different way that makes you even more of a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it is. That's what I took from it, bro, honestly. And I dug in with some shit I just never thought I'd just talk about, you know what I mean? But it just made me more of that, just more of in a controlling way, you know what I mean? So it's crazy. It's crazy. I felt the same way you felt, dog.
And then my last issue with it is, how do I then trust this person and know all of my shit and not go do nothing with it?
True.
Like,
That's
another thing I struggle with. Like, I'm about to tell you everything.
I was saying,
you can hold me hostage now.
True.
That's how I look at it.
I was the same way. That's really how I was thinking about it. Like, I'm about to tell you some shit that nobody knows. Like, God damn, this makes for a great movie if I tell you shit.
I'm fucked.
Cause I did look at it like, man, you probably done talked to countless people. You know everybody's shit. I looked at it, but you can't, because you just gotta go in there and just like, look, once you make up your mind, you're gonna get everything you need out of it. You know what I mean? But anything you hold back, like if you go into it thinking any type of way, you're not gonna give your all into it to try to be the best you could be. You know what I mean? You're gonna shortchange it because you're gonna think like, man, I'm not about to tell him this. I'm not about to tell him that. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, like you genuinely, you gotta approach it with the betterment for yourself. That's it.
All right, man. I appreciate it, because also, no one ever tells you they fucking went to therapy and failed. Like, oh man, I went through 4 people. Like, you never get that. Everybody you see that you talk about therapy, they act like they went to therapy and it was just that. And I know, like, it has to be, like, there's no way everybody just went to therapy and then they walked out of there like, yep, I found my therapist. Like, but no one speaks about that side of it. So when you talk about like, continuing to grow the awareness of mental health and mental illness, no one speaks about the failures of it. Like, no one tells you that, which is, yo, I tried 4 different people. On the 4th time, I got it right. Nobody tell you that. So guess what? For me, if I go once and I'm like, yeah, this person ain't, like, if I don't have this information, then I just charge it to the game like, well, I tried it. And although that wasn't the right person or the right fit, in my mind, I tried it and that wasn't the right thing.
Most people do look at it that way, for sure. You know what I mean? But also, I feel like, and I always tell people this, like, granted, it isn't for everybody, because sometimes this could be just enough for some people, you know what I mean? But for me, I look at it like, we're gonna go through some type of trauma that we're gonna need some type of help with. And, you know, therapy isn't a thing that you're gonna go to 10 times and you be fixed. It's just something that's a cushion for you to give you that push to continue to keep going. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that, you know, let me just keep myself sharp in the understanding of myself so I can keep it going when shit do happen. You know what I mean? And granted, like, I'm far from perfect. You know what I mean? I'm far from fixed. I'm far from anything, but it's an element of me that I feel more confident I can move to the next thing and get better with that and the next thing. This has always been our safe haven, no matter if shit going good or going bad, to be able to compete and play basketball. That's kind of really our therapy, to Absolutely. Be able to release. So, man, bro, it's beyond an honor, a pleasure. One of my good friends, my brother, you already know, when this basketball stuff stopped, you know, we family to the end. I'm more than appreciative you doing this for me. I wouldn't want nobody else to kick off the first one but you, bro. Always been there for me, no matter what it was for, man. And you know, vice versa. You know, I appreciate you again. All the love at all time. And you know, the shit talking that we do all day about anything randomly, it's It's going to continue, bro.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's like I told you, for me, to see you continue to flourish and grow and find your voice and find your passion, like, for me, that's everything. Because I ultimately want to see my friends, like, flourish, you know, and you flourished in basketball for years. Like, at this point, that's easy, you know, and to see you continue to chase other things and grow and, like, open yourself up, like, it's such an incredible thing. So I thank you for allowing me to be the first guest. For every one of you out there after this, you will not be the first guest because that's me. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. Absolutely.